welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And once again, like, quarterly it seems like nowadays. It used to be like 3 times a year, but now sometimes it's even more than quarterly if you count like the in-between movies that seem to come out too. But DCU, of course, has another awesome animated movie for us to watch. If anything, Warner Brothers and DC have always got us covered, no matter what, every like 3 months or so, or what have you. You know, it's always there. There's always something to kind of watch. And, you know, guaranteed, it's always pretty darn good.
Yeah, this one right here, I'm wondering what happened, because I feel like there's 1 year where there was like a little bit of a delay, but maybe, I'm not sure if that was intentional, but it all kind of panned out, because now they seem to come out like every 2 months, it seems, just about. I mean, when did the Gotham by Gaslight come out?
I think that was literally about 2 months ago, because that's like the weird thing about this. These movies just kind of keep coming out, and then there was the Batman Scooby-Doo one that was only like maybe a month and a half before that, and then it didn't seem like it was that much longer ago that, God, I can't remember what the one previous to that was, but...
was it the Harley Quinn one?
It was either the Harley Quinn one or the Adam West one, I can't remember, one or the other.
When I think the DC movies, I know it's a lot of the same people working on, but what comes to mind is mainly the PG-13R movies. That's what kind of comes to mind. I know it's like essentially the same studio and same team, but because it almost seems like they have like, okay, these guys do the more PG comedy ones, these guys do the harder R ones. And this one, I like how this one just fucking said, yep, we're doing it. And it's kind of funny because Alan Burnett worked on this, you know, Batman animated series veteran, and it's kind of known like one of his first gigs was the Super Friends, and now he's doing this thing, and it's just the complete opposite.
He's building up. Well, it's funny, like, I guess if you're all confused on what's going on, we're talking about Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay, the new DCU animated movie. But yeah, this one's kind of like, I mean, they kind of said that in the previous thing. They're like, yeah, we're going to go, you know, make this one kind of grindhousey and so on. But this is definitely the one where they're like, and it's like a process, but you can see them pushing the envelope of how R they can get these movies. And this one's definitely going farther. And it's like, it's definitely stair steps. You know, you could see it coming. In the last like 10 years, it progressively gets closer and closer and farther into it. And that's almost like what's going on here. And this one breaks some new grounds that wasn't ever in any of the other ones. And almost that kind of stuff where you're like, oh my God, is that actually in there? Are you kidding me? Like, that's fucking weird.
It's so weird because I have DC books where they actually say fuck and actually have nudity. This one didn't have any real nudity, but when I actually
tits.
heard... Did they actually show tits?
Yeah, it showed them twice.
I don't remember seeing any tits in this.
Yeah, actually, they fucking drew the nipple like it was heavy metal or something.
Oh, wow. I didn't even see that. Maybe I'm going to watch it again.
I mean, it goes by real quick, so if you didn't have a big enough TV, you might not have noticed it, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, they actually had Professor Zoom say, fuck my life, which I literally rewinded that. Like, oh, they actually go there? Because for whatever reason, even sometimes in some comics, they're very weird about, okay, we can have Joker skin someone alive and then like throw him onto like a stage. He walks up behind him, slaps a dollar bill on his ass, and he falls over dead. But God forbid he say the F word or you show him flipping the bird. They got to cut off part of the camera cuts off on the panel so you don't see his finger. Like everything else in this fucking book, you can't show him flipping the bird. Okay, all right. This movie has no problem with that. And I'll say earlier DC movies, there are moments where I'm like, I'm surprised this isn't R. I'm a little surprised for how violent Flashpoint Paradox is. That's not R.
Yeah, I know. And then the weird thing, too, is sometimes I feel like in animation, you can kind of get away with a little bit more violence than you can in live action. But yeah, I know. I always find that kind of goofy, too. It's that weird thing that's like, this is okay, but this isn't. It's like, you know, because really, like, flipping somebody off at the end of the day is like, that is nothing compared to somebody getting skinned alive. But I think this is always what it is. That
happened in Speed Racer, the movie. I mean, to cut you off, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is always what it is that it's one of those ones, they go like, well, here's the thing. Kids can flip somebody off at school. Generally, a kid's not going to skin in somebody at school and then hang his body up on stage for the talent show. So that's why it's like, really, I don't know if that's always it, but I've always kind of wondered. I think that's like the theory behind it is like almost like, you know, realistically, a kid knows that like this violent thing's bad, But when it comes to flipping the bird, he might see the Joker do it and think that's cool. Next thing you know, he's flipping off, his teacher and his pastor and, everybody else he knows because he saw the Joker do it.
What kid is reading Brian Azzarello's The Joker? That's what I want to know.
I know.
And first off, that right there, just well, the Joker did it. All those goddamn comic books. It's like the 1960s witch hunt for the comics again.
Mm-hmm. And it's nowadays, I just feel mostly I think kids are always I feel like comics are made for just older people just in general because they just have that cost level that kids can't get to because either they're spending their money on video games or what have you. Whatever kids spend their money on nowadays, I don't know. Do they do anything else than play video games? Shit, when I was a kid, we used to buy movies, buy comics, and video games.
Well, I feel like kids, they now get the idea of because I went and talked to some different comic book store owners about just out of curiosity, just demographic type stuff. And they told me that, you know what, it's sometimes you might get some parents trying to push kids under their comics and trying to get some of that, but that rarely ever happens. The kids more get their fill from movies, video games, and cartoons. So it makes sense right there for kids well, I guess I can read it, or I got these other 3 things right here where I can get 3 or 4 different versions of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of how it is. It's almost it's the kid, parents come on, Billy, you can read about it. Yeah, that sounds fucking stupid. Yeah, right, Mom, I'm just gonna watch it. Why read when somebody's making a movie and actually putting effort and money into it? But this one artist, one artist. Look how many artists are in Guardians of the Galaxy, huh? Just the shitty kid.
The kid that's always in a basketball jersey, always has his big cap backwards, never.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I don't know if that kid's ever going to go away. I feel like that kid's always going to be there.
I know. But yeah, it's in the Suicide Squad one, too. It's this one definitely pushes that envelope of hey, it's almost each movie, it's we can do one more thing more. Because I remember when they said shit for the first time, it's are you kidding me? They can say that in the movies? Oh shit, that's fucking a big deal right there. We're breaking new ground.
The first one I heard that, I want to say it was Cyborg saying it in Justice League Doom. That's how well we know these movies. Did Cyborg just say shit? Oh, he did. And then you got the Killing Joke, which is the first R-rated one, and you're just kind of well, it's the Killing Joke. There's no real way around that, and they're still trying as hard as they can to still make it well, we'll try to make it PG-13. We're just going to put what's on the page. Oh, and that's R. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to they said that because I wasn't able to finish it in time, but I started watching it, listening to the audio commentary, and they said every R rating they are getting before just happened to be there. They're aiming for PG-13, but happened to get R. Where this one was, fuck it, let's go the full distance.
Yeah, I know. I thought this would probably be a cool one to really listen to the audio commentary more than almost all the other ones, if anything, just because this one does kind of break those grounds. I mean, sometimes it feels almost they just kind of put stuff in there just because, let's just find out. It's not it's technically necessary, but it's just trying to see if they can get away with it and kind of be fine. Because all I picture is, for a fact there's some mother or father who's bought this one for their 8-year-old kid. And they're gonna sit down, and all I just think about, there's gonna be a scene where Dr. Fate comes down and his fucking balls jiggle up and down.
Well, but I'll say this right now. Keep in mind,
Which just sounds so funny when you say that to somebody who hasn't seen it. It's oh, what happens? Well, Dr. Fate's balls jiggle in this one. He's got a ginormous package. Well, and they get a close shot on it, too.
They show him, scratch it, too. Here's the thing about this movie. This is an example of... Because we both like the DC extended universe that they got going on in the movies. We both like it. But these animated movies, I mean, if you put these through a live action lens and then added 10 to 20 minutes on some of them just to make them a little more lengthier,
2 hours long or something, yeah.
Yeah, these would, I think, be competing pretty well with Marvel. I mean, you would have to do some, I'm not saying straight up just take what's on this and throw it on the screen. I mean, you'd have to make some altercations to make them connected. But ultimately, I mean, if you start with something like Red Hood, dude, and I like the Wonder Woman movie, but I mean, do the DC version, because that one was...
So much better, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the animated one was better. And then Green Lantern First Flight was
amazing.
Fantastic. And then, I mean, I already like Man of Steel as is. I have no real problem with Man of Steel that much. But even adding other aspects, do something else for maybe a slightly better version of Justice League Doom for something instead of Batman v Superman. I think you'd actually have a really, really solid cinematic universe, because I feel like these guys, the writers, people that work on this, have a better understanding than the guys that make the theatrical movies.
Oh, and by far, that's like the thing. That's what makes these things like they're just like instantly always mostly about pretty darn close to like perfect movies. I mean, like, you know, they can fluctuate a little bit, but and I don't know what it is. If it's at the end of the day, I think it's still that weird thing. It's like, well, those guys aren't movie makers; they're animation guys or comic book guys. I think at the end of the day, there's still that like stigma that can't be escaped, and I think that's kind of how it is. It's almost like there's the last of like the movie people holding on for fucking dear life. They're like, no, we can't give our jobs up. The second that we let those heathens in with their pens and pencils and animation boards and so on, it's gonna be all over.
Just straight up anarchy, straight chaos. No,
straight.
They'll be riding in the streets.
You can't just let you can't have an animator come over. That's not a real friend.
They're just like beating people with their fucking sketchboards and all that. Like that's what happens the second you let them in the room.
It's like you just can't trust those guys. You know what I mean? It's like having a hobo come over and serve you dinner. Like, are you gonna eat that? No, you're not gonna eat that. That's what these animated comic book people are. They
want your job. They want your job. They'll take it from any means possible. They'll stab you in the neck with their fucking pencils. You know they use mostly Cintiqs and Wacoms now. Same fucking thing.
You know that most of them actually don't even animate. It's just a bunch of like Asians that get really uncredited because nobody knows who they are.
So they have an army, huh? They got an army backing them up.
It is. I knew it. I knew fucking China was invading. Well, they're mostly Korean. Sometimes China, Korea, same fucking thing. They're all over there, all speaking a language I don't understand, all making movies of fist fighting and kung fu throwing punches. Yeah, tell you, gotta be prepared. I ain't losing my job. I make movies, goddammit.
This is every time.
My dad made movies. His dad before him made movies. You know what? We didn't allow anybody to tell us what to do. If a screenwriter came up to us and said, hey, you should go by the script, I said, fuck it, I'm doing what I want.
Then I shoot him in the gut with a musket.
Yeah, exactly.
Pass down for my grandpappy. Get back to work, boy.
Yeah, get back to where you do. I make my own decisions, goddammit. I'm an artiste.
That's what the Warner brothers do.
Yeah.
It's like two twin brothers just like sitting at the end of this table.
But yeah, there's like that kind of thing. But that's the thing, it's like you look at these movies, it's like, man, if they just did these ones, you know, just on screen as is, like don't change the script, don't change the look, just make it exactly how it is. Hell, you could probably take half those voice actors anyways, and they would just translate into live action. But yeah, just go with it. It's kind of a bummer that kind of happens and how these movies sort of get put on the back burner, and you know, they just because since they're animated, they're not looked upon as being like, you know, I mean, I don't know. Animation still always has that thing that it's not like a real movie in most people's eyes. Because I just think there's a lot of people out there that can't handle animation. I think it all still derives from their parents being like, you're 13 fucking years old, you can't watch cartoons anymore.
Go down to the mill and get a job.
Yeah, exactly. Those bills aren't going to pay themselves.
Your sister
I don't
just
want
died
you living on welfare, watching cartoons for the rest of your life.
Your sister just died of polio. Take this shovel. You bury her. Stop watching Cow and Chicken. But I'll say this. I feel like that there was a period, because you look, they're just like because these movies, I want to say they started around because they're always kind of loosely like these kind of happen because of some big Warner Brothers movie that already was on its way out. I want to say it started shortly after Superman Returns, and they made Superman Doomsday. And then from there, like, okay, let's do New Frontier, let's do Batman, Gotham Knight, let's do Wonder Woman, and they all just kind of branched off from there and there and there, and usually it would be some animated movie that was preparing somebody, not always, but a lot of times it'd be an animated movie preparing you for either a CW show that was coming in the pipes later in the line, or a movie. Usually I feel like the CW shows almost teeing people off for the movie as well, because now they're planning, hopefully it still happens, but they're planning to use Deathstroke in one of the upcoming DC movies. So, watching this, there's a period where they started just doing, you know what, fuck it, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, maybe Aquaman, maybe, no, Aquaman, okay. And then they kind of reached this point where just, okay, so it's just Superman, Batman, and Justice League. And then it became, fuck. Alright, Justice League and Batman. If we want to do something, if we want to do an Aquaman movie, it's got to involve Justice League or Batman. If we want to do a Flash movie, it's got to involve Justice League or Batman. And then I want to say the Teen Titans was the first one where they strayed from the pack, and they just said, wait a minute, just do a Teen Titans focused one. Like, really? Yeah, I think that's probably they're writing off the success of Teen Titans Go, but still. And then out of that, now we have a new upcoming Superman movie, which is the longer version of Death of Superman. And then we have this right here, just a Suicide... Because before they had a Suicide Squad movie, another one that was awesome, that was set in the Batman Arkham universe, but it had to be sold as a Batman Arkham
Batman
movie.
on the cover there.
Yeah, it had to be sold as a Batman movie and to be actually Suicide Squad. And in all honesty, I think that if you just took this movie or the Batman Arkham movie and just made maybe the first one a little longer, either one of those could have been the Suicide Squad movie and would have been better.
Yeah, and then there was that other Suicide Squad one too of last year, I think it was.
Was there another Suicide Squad movie that came out last year?
Yeah.
One? Which one was that? That got by me.
Well, we watched it and we talked about it on the podcast. So
was it a Suicide Squad movie? What was it? Was it a...
Shit, I gotta look up what it is, but I know that it was, because it was almost
like an episode of something?
No, it was a DCU movie. It was a full on. There was not an episode or anything like that. Suicide Squad.
Well, there's the Batman Arkham one. I don't remember there being another Suicide Squad movie. I remember there being...
Yeah, the Batman Arkham one was like 3 years ago or something like that.
That was the Batman Arkham. Then I thought there was this one. Maybe Suicide Squad popped in one of them. I don't remember the other Suicides. I feel like... maybe there's so many of these now, I'm forgetting which ones I saw.
I could have swore there was one where... or maybe I'm just thinking it had like Suicide Squad elements in it. That might have been it. But I want to say there was a full-on Suicide Squad... like one just similar to this one, just it had different characters in it or something. Like, I mean, obviously it had like Harley Quinn and so on.
I think the Batman Harley Quinn one had Suicide Squad characters in it, and then I want to say
not the Batman Harley Quinn one. That's not the one I'm thinking of. TCU.
Fact checking. No. I hear your keyboard going, so I'm like, he's got it. I'll just sit here and wait.
Yeah, I could have swore there was. Let's see, Assault on Arkham. Here there wasn't. Now I just want to know which movie it was, because I know that one of them had something to sort of do. It
could have been one of the
DCU Big Fatty collection.
It could have been one of those DC Universe shows that had
it wasn't a show. I know for a fact it wasn't a show.
Okay.
That it's like it had to be one of these movies, but it might have been one of those ones where it was like it sold as something else and it had Suicide Squad in it, but
okay.
God knows what it was. Well, that's not the biggest deal, I guess.
Well, I think that either this movie or the Batman Assault on Arkham, either of those would have been great Suicide Squad movies, because I think these get across what the Suicide Squad is, and they're not a comic I read a whole lot of, but they popped in other books I've read. The thing about Suicide Squad is like they could all turn on each other at any moment, and the movie was just trying, hey y'all, we're all family. We've like known each other for like 5 or maybe 6 hours, maybe. But now, you're getting out of the joint, you're all talking about how you're all family, and you're all like, yeah, man, just like, oh, okay, whatever. And, like, it was a little rushed. I mean, the Suicide Squad, that's the only one I really don't, I didn't hate it, but that's the only one I don't really like that much as far as the live-action movies go, which is sad, because it's by one of my favorite newer directors, David Ayer.
I know, that's what I mean, too. That director's so amazing. And I probably like that movie more than the average Joe, and I'll even say this, I think I actually slightly like it more than Wonder Woman, even though I think Wonder Woman's more of a solid movie, but I just feel there's just more stuff almost going around in Suicide Squad, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's like Wonder Woman's solid and simple, and at least Suicide Squad, though it's trying things and kind of fails at the same time, it does really good, and I don't know, it's a toss-up, I've kind of said.
There's some... Well, I just remember just a little bit ago, I just looked at the trailers again, like the first 2 or 3 trailers, just out of curiosity. And I remember why I was so amped for the movie, just because it looks so fucking weird and so fucking dark and kind of funny at the same time. Like, there's the trailer where there are things that happen just in quick flashbacks they're really showing and heavily advertising. There's like a guy wearing like a goat head firing a machine gun. I'm like, that is some weird... Then like in that same shot, there's a guy like in a panda suit walking with an AK-47. So just this really weird, like, early 90s MTV type shit. And... I'm like maybe out of like a Tool video or something. And I was just watching this like, oh man, this looks fucked up, and I was thinking it's probably gonna be PG-13, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did come out being R. And then you hear all these rewrites and all that stuff, and then you got the. It's not a movie I hate or anything, but then all that stuff is just quick things they just used really quickly to get the point across, and Enchantress wasn't the greatest villain, so just I think they could have built up to her, but just dropping her in there like that, it's like whatever.
Yeah, and that's kind of how that movie is. That movie is like, and it's the weird thing too is, and we've said this before on podcasts, like the first 40 minutes of that movie are pretty much like perfect. That first 40 minutes is actually really good, and then it just kind of like once they get on their mission, it sort of peters out to being kind of like a B grade movie or something like that. You know, it reminds me of kind of like almost like one of those kind of films you would have got in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where you're like, well, it's cool that they tried that, but it wasn't really like, you know, the greatest movie. Not bad, but not amazing, and that's what it is. It reminds me of like a mix between like being both a really good movie and then just being kind of like an okay movie at the same time.
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, and I know people who do really like the movie, and I'm glad someone does, because just seeing the trailer, I was like, I could tell I'm already going to love this movie, and that's almost the worst thing to go into a movie trailer. It's like I'm pretty sure I'm going to love this movie. Then I'm sitting there for the first 20 to, well, no, probably 30, 40 minutes, being like, okay, yeah, the June Moon and Rick Flag thing is a little forced, but I mean, I know they dated in the comics, but I mean the whole like, oh Rick, and they're trying to speed run that. Like, all right, that's a little forced, but rest of it, I think people are overreacting. This is pretty good. I don't know what they're talking about. Then it's like, oh, this is what they meant. Fuck yeah, I can see the rewrites.
And the weird thing too, it's like even going into Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay. And I'm gonna say this: I looked at like that DCU like 10th anniversary collection thing. I don't think there is another Suicide Squad movie. But I was trying to think, like, I know, wasn't there a movie though where like they ran into the Suicide Squad and had like Amanda? Maybe I'm just getting fucking confused. Maybe I'm just thinking of Assault on Arkham, and I just kind of piecing those things all together in my mind of other movies and just like scene swapping and then like thinking that there's this other film. But whatever, that's not the point.
There's Batman Bad Blood, which had a bunch of weird random characters, so it seemed
maybe that's
like
it.
So it seemed kind of like Suicide Squad.
There's probably a Batman one where he's fighting just a couple villains that happen to be those kind of members, but in Hell to Pay, like in this one here, and I'll say that this one actually, like, there does have a couple of those kind of things, because sometimes Suicide Squad, I don't know what it is, but there'll be kind of like some retarded moments. That's how the movie had a bunch of those, and this movie even has a handful of just kind of retarded jokes. Not too much to really bring it down, but just enough that you can point out. Most of the time, they always involve Harley Quinn, because I don't know what it is. I just feel like if you go Batman animated series, I love Harley Quinn. Ever since, after that point on, once Paul Dini and Bruce Timm like let go of her generally, I don't know what it is. It's like other people just don't know how to write her properly. She comes across as almost kind of just like too stupid, too dumb, and almost to the point where it's like, how is she still alive? You know what I mean? Like she doesn't, like, her skills almost like the modern Harley Quinn, like her skills almost don't back up like what she's doing. You know, it's just that kind of thing where, like, in the old one, she was smart, and there's, like, you know, things going on, and she could still problem solve, and she was, even though she had kind of a ditzy personality, it didn't mean she was ditzy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to say Harley Quinn probably is the weaker side of this movie, but I really wasn't going there super excited for Harley Quinn, because she's one of those characters just always thrown in our face. She's kind of there more just for the look, as well as just kind of comic relief. Because she almost takes a back seat to everything near the end.
Which is kind of nice. I like that, because at first I was like, where the fuck did she go? I'm like, I don't know, but it's almost kind of better that she's not there. I know she's the character, she's like the Batman of it, where they're like, you slap Harley Quinn on something nowadays, and now it will sell.
Well, I even like the part, spoilers ahead for this movie, I like the part when Amanda Waller, because like nearly, that's another thing about this movie. You know just about anybody could die. I know Harley Quinn's not going to die, but you know just about anybody else in this thing could die. And when Amanda Waller comes to the scene at the end, Harley Quinn comes walking out, and she's like, of course she survived.
Yeah, no, and that was funny like that, but there's just some, like, there is some just things that, like, Harley Quinn that's, like, people write, and it just has that feeling like they just don't get the character. That's what I see when they have it. Or she'll do some stupid stuff, like, she's walking in, like, at the very end, I don't know, we'll probably go back around to the beginning, but she's, like, carrying the baseball bat like it's a machine gun, and it's like, why is she always carrying a baseball bat as a weapon? She used to use guns back in the day. Like, why can't she use guns nowadays? It just seems almost, like, so stupid, because she's not a character. If she had superpowers, that might be different, but she has no superpowers, and it just kind of makes it out like she doesn't have a ton of skills. They just make her out like she swings a baseball bat and dresses up like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, before they got across that she had a revolver, she had a baseball bat or a hammer, and she was
hammer.
very acrobatic and all that, but now this one is just like, she's fucking crazy!
Yeah, they just make her out like she's just like a crazy, like almost like I think the thing I've come about because they make her feel like she's like a crazy hooker, and that's like what Harley Quinn sort of turned into, and I just feel it's kind of sad because that's not what that character to me represents as like in the '90s show. And as well, she doesn't bring down the movie that much. And I mean, like, she's the one, if you cut all her scenes, that would probably make the movie almost perfect. Because everybody else is great, you know? Even fucking Copperhead, who's, like, a weird character, but, like, I think he's done really well in this. And plus, I don't know what it is, whenever they show him driving, and it shows him driving, like, 3 times, I just fucking, like, laugh so hard. Because it looks, look, he's just sitting there all, like, stiff, like, and he's driving, like, a school bus, but he's just this weird, robotic, like, lizard man.
Well, it's like they get across that at some point in time he was human, but he just did all this modifications to himself to make himself look like a snake and have more like reptilian-like features. And there's a part where I don't remember what someone said a joke at his expense, and they're walking away, and he just slowly opens his mouth. He's like, hiss. Like that, like you're expecting some big, loud, like, which is like hiss, like that. It just follows him out the room. It's just weird. He has like a British voice.
Yeah, he's like proper, sort of.
I thought he was a character like, all right, what's he doing here? But I thought they did a good job with him. Like everybody in this movie, except like Harley Quinn was just kind of there. I almost kind of forgot she was. Like, oh, there she is doing the Harley Quinn shit.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I mean, you know, Captain Boomerang is cool, like he usually is in these things.
He's one of my favorite in the Suicide Squad movie. Captain Boomerang's my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah, Captain Boomerang's good. Deadshot is. I'll say this: the movies as well. I'm going to say like primarily the Arkham movies did a good job of giving me more respect for Deadshot, and I read one volume of Suicide Squad back when the New 52 happened. I'm like, oh, Deadshot's a cooler character than I thought he was. And this movie does a good job of pushing that. I even like the little bit of drama they got into it. I mean, there is a good amount of comedy in this, but the drama, like the whole thing, how he stops to go find his daughter for a second, and like, oh yeah, she sometimes goes to this drug house. Don't worry, it's nothing that big. And like the girl,
like this little Reddit girl's like, yo man, like it's like at first I'm like, because Captain Boomerang says early on like that his daughter's like 13 or whatever. It's like I like how Captain Boomerang seems to know this. I mean, they're sitting next to each other, so I guess they got nothing else to talk about. But like,
yeah,
like there's like this. It's like they're at like some boarding school or whatever. And it's just like she's got pretty much probably like the worst roommate she could have. It's like, yo, what's going on? Like, you want to smoke a bowl with me, Mr. Deadshot?
Well,
I'll suck your dick for a nickel.
Well, the thing about her is she's like not even this because you're used to like, who are you? What are you doing? And it totally flips it on its back. Like, you're a dad? Like, yeah. Like, do you have your guns? Show's like, oh, that's awesome. You know, I play online on this first person shooter, this and that. Like, do you want to weed? Any weed? I'm gonna make a bowl for myself. You know, and it's just. She's not even phased. Like, God, what was this girl's life before this happened?
Yeah,
so
God. Good thing she's at this school, because I don't know what was happening in, like, her trailer park home or wherever she was.
And the other thing about it is, like, it kind of gives a little bit more reason why Deadshot is going to play by the rules for the most part and try to get out of this. So we can get, because of God, this is where she's at. I know I'm a fucking killer, but she probably needs my help if this is the way. if
this is her roommate who she's hanging out with. Jesus fucking Christ! I was killing people so you could be going to this good school, and now look, you bunk with this person all these years. Shit, why don't you just come hang out in prison with me? There's the same fucking people out there. She's like, oh, I just smoke weed. It's like, yeah, but it's gonna lead to something. I know it. Just fucking know it. It's the time I grew up. I'm sorry.
Nancy told me.
Sorry, Nancy Reagan. She really spoke to me. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, when I was your age, you know what I mean? You just got used to it. I mean, I know that technically this weed's fine. You know, I see Captain Boomerang smoke it, but I don't know. Then again, do you want to be Captain Boomerang? I'm just saying. Like,
I mean, I can just shoot something. It makes it a lot easier. I mean, yeah, sure, he's got some good biceps, but at the same time, I mean, you know, how long's he gonna last?
I just love it that, like, Floyd just starts freaking out just seeing this, and then he runs, like, that crack house or whatever. He's like, oh, God, there she is. She's turned into a goddamn punk rocker. She's probably doing heroin.
And then, well, that whole scene, because, like, Bronze Tiger, he's another character I didn't really know a whole lot about, but
that's an awesome character. I want to see more of Bronze Tiger, because I just think that's a really cool character that doesn't get used nearly as much.
Well, he's one of those characters I didn't really know a whole lot about. I've heard him a few times, and they threw him into... Tom King threw him in his Batman run a couple of times, and him and Batman have trained together, and they're kind of... they're obviously on different sides of the law, but they respect each other, and they're kind of friends. and Batman kind of forms his own Suicide Squad to go into the prison where Bane was raised, because that's where he's almost built an army over there. And I want to say he uses Bronze Tiger, Judy and Punch, that jester couple at the beginning who just dies fucking brutally. And I want to say there's someone else he used who I'm drawing a blank on. But just seeing, maybe I think it was maybe Catwoman and someone else. But Bronze Tiger is just one of those characters that, like, I thought it was just an interesting take, how he's a supervillain / born-again Christian.
Yeah, he's kind of got that. Well, and that's the thing, too, is he's almost sort of like, I guess you would say, kind of like a Punisher-like character, because he's not like, I mean, he's not like that, but he's almost like, he's sort of a vigilante more than anything else that kills, and he could be a good guy, just depending how you write it, or he could be a bad guy all at the same time. It's like he could go both directions. He's just walking that tightrope of where, he could be in life.
He's like a better version of Black Spider, because Black Spider was the same thing, but he wasn't as well developed. In this version of him, he's like on par with everybody else in the team. And I kind of like how they get across that even though Waller could probably kill Deadshot at any moment, how she kind of has this weird sort of fondness for Deadshot. Like at any moment she can kill Floyd, but she knows he's going to get the job done. So much so that she, at the very beginning, she puts Count Vertigo in charge of the mission, and then he screws them over, and then he's like, you honestly think that she put you in charge for a reason? She was testing you, and you didn't pass, and his head explodes. So that right there, I think that's one of those things like, okay, she could always rely on him, and so, yeah.
And I think that's sort of it, because Floyd is kind of the guy where, like, even though he's a villain, though he's kind of like, he's a reasonable person. He's not a psycho. He's not an Arkham Asylum inmate. You know what I mean? He's a guy. He's a businessman at the end of the day. You could reason with this guy. You could talk to this guy. You could put him in charge, and he'll get the thing done, And I think that's what works really well. Because I think it's like that's one of the ones. Like, Deadshot's one of those characters, when you first see him, it's like, oh, he's kind of this cool character. I just remember being, like, back in the day, like 15 years ago or whatever, when we initially saw Deadshot. Like us. Not like when he initially appeared, obviously. But, it's just that thing is like he's kind of a cool character. You almost feel like almost like a character that you would throw in like the first 10 minutes of a movie, and then the real plot would start up. But over time, it's like, no, that character actually is a really awesome character, and I can see why they'd want to start using it more often and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I remember when the live action movie was coming out, and I heard Will Smith was in it. I wasn't, you had some people like, but he's white or whatever. At first, I actually thought Will Smith was going to be Rick Flag, and I assumed. Originally, it was Tom Hardy that was going to be Rick Flag, but I just heard the names that were combined. But okay, so Tom Hardy's probably going to be Deadshot, and then Will Smith's probably going to be Rick Flag, because Will Smith's the good guy. Everyone loves Will Smith, so they're probably going to make him the one good guy on the team. But then, like, oh, they switched it around, and he still did a good job. I don't think he was the problem.
I liked actually Will Smith actually as Deadshot. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm. I thought that he did a good job with that. I think Christian Slater, though, I mean, if you put Christian Slater in there now, I think he'd do a good job, because it was one of those things like when they had Christian Slater on here, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. They usually would get some kind of like actor that people know, and he seems kind of like someone you would have got probably for Deadshot probably back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, if Deadshot appeared in like Batman Forever or something like that, or Batman and Robin, it'd be like because that was a time period where Christian Slater was like in everything, and he was a huge actor, and it's just as time goes on, now he's still doing good things and all kinds of stuff, but he's lost that, like, where he was, because he was really in that range where it's like, this guy could be the next Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm. And I think that he did a great job as Deadshot. So
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and then they also had, they did more with Killer Frost. Killer Frost was good in Arkham Assault, but I thought they did a good job with her in this one. Like, it's one of those things, they just kind of took some of these characters and expanded on them just a little more than they did from the last one. Because the last one was more of a Guy Ritchie movie in the aspect, or even more of a heist movie in the aspect of, like, here's this character, and that character was here just to die. Where this one, we're hanging out with people a lot longer, but then we get to the end, which goes this total Reservoir Dogs. Everyone has guns at each other. Everyone's killing each other left and right, and you don't know who's going to make it out. And when people do die in this, it's never really like oh, okay, they're dead. It's like oh, fuck, that's a bad way to go.
And the thing too is they jam-packed this movie with like a lot of characters and like multiple kind of like ways this film can go. It's like, so you got the Suicide Squad going on, but then Reverse Flash or Professor Zoom has his own group
That
of guys.
surprised me. I was so surprised to see that.
I didn't even know he was going to be in. And then when I saw him, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? He's in here? And it's like, and you don't have to have Flash or anything like that to help sell it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he's not even on the cover, if anything like that, too. Like, that's actually kind of like a ballsy way to do it. And, like, it was kind of a nice surprise. So he had his old group of goons, and then you had Vandal Savage in there with his group of people, and then there was even Vandal's daughter, and then it had the one chick, who played
Knockout.
Yeah, well, that's his daughter, though, right?
His daughter is the girl. No, his daughter. I remember his daughter's name, but
I don't remember
her girlfriend's Knockout.
Okay, that's the chick that was like in the Bruce Timm like alternate universe one where there was Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. They were all different. Wasn't that the chick that played Wonder Woman in that?
You know what? Might have been. I don't entirely remember. She said about being from Apocalypse. I want to say, you know what? No, that's a different character. There's another redheaded chick from...
another redheaded chick from Apocalypse. Green armor.
She wasn't green.
There's a lot of them up there, just saying.
No, that chick, they made her more like Wonder Woman in the Gods and Monsters thing. Yeah. But in the comic, she was more of like a hot chick in a skimpy outfit holding two guns. So... I think this was somebody else. I want to say this was a Superboy villain.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, they had that in there too, and that was almost kind of the interesting thing too. Because I feel like they've had some of this stuff before, but this is almost the other way. It's like, okay, beyond the violence and beyond like the language, but then it's almost like this character here. She literally gets out of a hot tub at one point, is naked and a lesbian. You know, it's like the double whammy. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, we're gonna push his boundaries, and then I just love that. Like, then they got Dr. Fate in there too. It's like an alternative Dr. Fate, and it's this guy who's like literally a male stripper. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. I'm glad they could go that direction because all I know is there's gonna be somebody's dad who's gonna be like, oh, this will get the kid to shut up, get me some Pabst beer, and sit back. And then he comes in the room and watches like, what the fuck you watching? Told you to watch the goddamn Batman movie.
He just sees him. He sees the part where it just lands the part where he's like, it's a close up on his fucking package, and he's scratching it for a minute.
And that was like one of those characters where it's just like it was like the total goofball, like kind of like douchebag, like I'm so good looking guy. But it was like it almost worked really well, and the comedy worked right at that point too. Like that was the thing.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I never really read Dr. Fate. I just know the thing. You're chosen, you get the helmet, you become Dr. Fate. I know a homeless dude's been Dr. Fate at one point in time. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me the least bit if that was some character that was Dr. Fate for a short amount of time and the audience didn't like him, so they cast him to the side. Like something probably from like the mid-90s or whatever.
Yeah, you never know, because like that sounds like the Dr. Fate universe just has all kinds of guys. So yeah, I'm not saying that, but I thought that was kind of neat how that was this in there because it was just different. Like I know it was pushing the envelope because you can kind of tell that like some stuff's in there just to like let's just see what we can do. You know what I mean? And I think that's fine in itself because that's the whole point. We're still at this period where it's like animation, you know, can't always just be whatever it wants to be. So it's cool to see when they finally kind of get there. Because I feel like once you get to something that's like super rated R, they'll almost back off because you know there's gonna always be somebody who's like, well, why don't they just do it PG-13 like the good old days and just keep it pure, strong, and the American way? But I feel like they got to push the envelope so that you can finally say, yeah, look, we did this, and then you can be like, okay, now we can do whatever we want. You know, that doesn't mean we have to always be hard R every time. Well, it's not hard R yet, but it's getting there.
Well, the reason why I think that this movie, as well as Assault on Arkham, shows that Suicide Squad can work and why it's such an interesting concept is, okay, you have like this world filled with heroes, and usually they're doing heroic good guy things. And it's kind of fun to see that level, that scale, and all those crazy, colorful characters, but more in like a Tarantino or kind of like heist gone wrong kind of movie. Because the very end of this thing, when people start dying, it's like one of those things. Like, first off, I liked what because Dr. Zoom's team, it's Blockbuster and Silver Banshee. And Silver Banshee, I liked her design of her. They gave her kind of like this Irish punk rock design, which I thought was kind of cool. And then, though, when she goes, it's not only like, okay, she froze from the inside, she falls over, and the icicle sticking out of her neck goes out of the back of her fucking head. So it's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, she gets like a very violent death. And I guess we'll get like the whole plot of this story is that Amanda Waller, and I wish it was fat Amanda Waller. I don't know.
I prefer fat Waller.
She feels more threatening when she's fat, and it feels like she's more, I don't know, like she has more power. Where it went skinny Amanda Waller, it just looks like, what, Floyd, why don't you just go up and bitch slap her and like, you know what I mean? Take that controller out of there. When it's big Amanda Waller and it's just this lady who's like able just to like, though she's extremely heavyweight, she's almost like that thing where it's not like she's just laying in bed like, come on guys, push the button. Do it now. Bring me back the pizza. No, it's almost like she reminds me kind of almost that sort of like Blob and like X-Men, how even though he's like this really fat guy, he's almost like very like athletic still, or almost like an E-Honda, how you could still have like an 8-pack, you know what I mean, and be all sorts of athletic.
Well, they got across that one of the reasons why she has weight loss is she's all the chemo from cancer and all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to hide that a little bit, but yeah.
They said that in the movie?
Well, she's dying. She has cancer, and I'm assuming a lot of times when you go through the process to fight cancer, there's a lot of weight loss. Not always. Probably, of course, depends on the kind of cancer and the kind of treatment you get. But he said, Christian Slater, I want to say, said something like, yeah, she's gotten a lot bitchier since she lost all that fat. And shortly after that, they show her like at the hospital, and you're like, yeah, sorry, it's spreading. There's nothing you can do. And that's the reason she really badly wants that get out of hell free card.
Okay. I didn't know that. I missed that line, I guess, where it said that she lost weight. Well, that's okay. Then that at least has, as long as there's an explanation for it, that's all I need.
But as far as I prefer even with that explanation, I still prefer big, fat, angry Amanda Waller, because there's a point in like Superman, Batman, both the comic and the movie, Public Enemies. There's a part where Lex Luthor flat out hits on Amanda Waller and kisses her, and he's just attracted to her tenacity and her power and how what she's willing to do to stay in control. That's what he's like. I don't need some banging fucking supermodel. I want a badass bitch who's gonna get shit done, and I like that right there. I thought it was just an interesting thing, because he can have anybody. He says, no, I want this fat chick. Why? She's ruthless as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Either that or he's like a Quentin Tarantino guy. He's like, I really like 70s expletive films.
Yeah, that too.
He's like, shit, coffee's my jam.
Well, shit. On that note, Pam Grier played Amanda Waller in Smallville.
Did she really?
Yeah, I'm like, that is perfect fucking casting, because she's a little older, so she's a little thicker, but she's still Pam Grier, and she's still hot as fuck, so.
That's cool. I remember, like, because at Arrow, they just had, like, here's the hot Amanda Waller. You know what I mean? Because everything.
I have trouble believing a 27-year-old can get that much shit done in that short amount of time.
You know, it's like, that's how it always is. Everybody has to be good looking there. But in Hell to Pay, Suicide Squad, the whole thing is, Amanda Waller, she needs this card that's from that Dr. Fate has in his place with all his like trophies and so on. That's like a get out of hell free card that takes you to heaven, which is kind of weird. Like it's sort of like that was about the only thing in the movie. It's like I felt like, I mean, obviously that probably comes from some Dr. Fate comic or so on like that. I know that he's kind of tied in it, but it almost had this like weird religious aspect to it that it felt kind of odd in DC universe, I guess you could sort of say. Like to me, it almost felt like, well, it's like if you have this heaven and hell, then what is that? What's in like DC? Like what's this odd thing? I mean, I guess with like 52 dimensions, you can pull that one out. But I did think that did slightly take me out. Like almost like I felt like it should have been like some kind of magic. It sounds kind of goofier this way. You know, you can describe it better. But like literally, it's just like a one life, like an extra life card in a sense, more than like go to heaven, because like you're still dead. Like, and they kept talking about like, oh, I need this thing like that. It's like, well, yeah, but you're not coming back to life. It's not like you're fucking like Dragon Balls or something like that.
Well, it's one of those things. I feel like they never specify Christianity. I mean, you know, you get Bronze Tiger who spouts out some Bible verses here and there because they're really trying to get across. He's a born again Christian. He regrets his ways, and now he's trying to make up for it. But then I feel like it's one of those things where hell, that is a thing in DC, but it's this weird combination of, you know, Hades, Christian hell, because they get across Norse hell. I feel like that because they get across in books like Damien died and went to hell for a minute, and he's afraid to go back. They got that across, and I think Batman, Robin, son of Batman, somewhere like that, or Batman goes to hell to get Damien. I think at some point in time, I think he does. I'm trying.
Come on, boy, gotta get you out of here.
Let's get you out of hell. Batman's gonna go to yeah. I mean, I think I never read that book, but there's one about Batman retrieving Damien. I think he either goes to Apocalypse or he goes to hell. I don't remember which one.
It's really good at the same place.
Hell or space hell. Well, even like it's sometimes in the comics and even in, I want to say Smallville, they get across, it's like, oh, we know what hell is? Hell is actually Apocalypse. That's just what the old book transcribes. They thought that it was some other place under the earth. It was actually Apocalypse. They went through a portal. So the books, as well as some of the movies and shows, have got that across. But at the same time, though, I could see him. This is an 80-year-old universe. They keep on adding to and changing.
Well, yeah. But like, it was almost kind of like it was a little. It's like, I think the concept of it's kind of cool, but it is kind of like, it felt sort of strange. Like, not so strange that it was like, oh, it took me like totally out, but just enough they were kind of like, it threw questions up in my own mind of like, wait a second. It's like, that's just not a common thing that like is talked about, I feel like, in DC stuff nearly as much as like, a lot of times people, it's not like, I don't know, you don't just see like, there's not like those issues like, oh, Jason Todd hanging out in hell,
Oh,
or I guess Jason Todd wouldn't be in hell. He'd be like, well, remember that one time you stole the fucking Batmobiles? That's why you're down here, you little bitch.
Yeah, but I stopped. I saved so many lives, and I tried to save the life of my mother. Yeah, you still stole a goddamn tire. You know how many people he could have saved if you didn't steal that tire and he had to put it back on? That's on you, boy. Now bend over. I got this pitchfork.
Here, we're going to take this pineapple and shove it up your ass today, because that's what we're doing down here in hell.
I learned that one from Little Nicky. This is the guy next to him.
It's just like one of those ones, just like, that's why Jason Todd came back up and he was so fucking pissed. He's like, doesn't matter what the fuck you do. They're just going to send you down there anyways.
Well, I want to say multiple books have got across, because Swamp Thing went to hell. They've always... It's always been there, but it's
Constantine, I guess, has elements like that in a sense, or Dark World. Like sometimes, I guess, but they refer to it almost more like the Dark World or things like that. I think because this one specifically was like referring to it as hell. I think that made it feel kind of like, I guess, a little bit different. And hell and heaven.
I think you got like different versions of hell, and I think it's like kind of like, okay, like we said earlier, like hell. There's like a Norse section. There's probably like what they construe as the Christian section. There's there's like whatever weird alternate like 90s version of hell press they got down there. And then heaven, I mean, Green Arrow died, went to heaven at some point, then came back. So it's always been there, but I guess it's kind of weird when you hear I guess it throws you off a little bit for the first time you see the Suicide Squad talking about it.
Yeah, and maybe it's just one of those ones like I guess because they've never mentioned it in any of the other movies or so on. I mean, once again, it's not the biggest point of the film. It's just kind of like it's there. But the whole point is all these guys are fighting over this card. And of course, Vandal Savage wants it because he just does not want to die. Which, there's another thing about Vandal Savage is like, it's kind of an interesting idea where it's like you got this guy who's like been alive since caveman times. But I'm like, it's kind of hard for me to believe that somebody's been walking around for like 30,000 years and not one random thing has finally killed him. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not like he's like immortal, like as in like he can't, like nothing can, or invulnerable. He's just like has a long lifespan. But it's like, he never once got like in a car accident. He never once had an explosion happen. He never once just fell off a ship and couldn't swim back in. He never once was trampled by horses. You know what I mean? Like they're never like in all this time, he's just managed to get away from all these fluke accidents that could have happened to everybody else.
Vandal Savage has always been one of those characters I'm kind of like, I don't hate him, and if he's the villain of the next movie or whatever, okay. But he's always one of those characters like, I don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, I just feel like it's one of those ones like, I mean, it's one of those cool concepts. I think he needs a little bit more explanation on how he's able to do this. Because you'd think he'd be like the guy, be like, I'm the bubble man. I am afraid of everything out there. Anything could get me, like, and just seals himself away. Like, he feels more like that kind of character than somebody who's be walking around throwing punches and everything like that. Because, like, if you realize that, like, hey, the only way that life's going to end for you is by being out in danger, I feel like he would not be involved with anything.
Well, some versions, I mean, this one, he eats it by the end, but then in, I want to say, what was one of the Justice League movies? I'm forgetting what it was called. But it was one of the Justice League movies where Legion, I think Legion of Doom or whatever, where he's leading the Legion of Doom, and at some point Chitara, or not Chitara, is it Chitara? Yeah, no, Chitara, that's from fucking Thundercats. Cheetah or whatever.
Oh, Cheetah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Cheetah slashes his throats, and then he immediately, like Wolverine, his throat, like, reseals up, and he's like, yep, it's going to take more than that. So, that's the thing about this character. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure it changes from version to version, but in this one, it's like, oh, that was kind of easy.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, sometimes I think he has, like, real, like, super, like, Wolverine healing abilities. Because sometimes, like, Wolverine has a mixed amount of that, too, where, like, you know, nothing could kill, like, Wolverine could almost, like, heal back from, like, an atom. And then there's, like, Wolverine where it's like, oh, well, you know, that Sentinel blasted the living daylights out of him, so now he's gone.
Oh, yeah. No, well, this right here, this movie... So it just kind of goes on this road trip, and they're taking a RV across the country,
They
trying
got, like,
to
a
find...
Winnebago, pretty much.
Yeah. And even within that, there's a little bit of comedy of just like their interactions of how their interactions and how they're just kind of like nobody really likes each other. There is no real bonding experience in this one.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like that some of the comedy works really well. Like anything Captain Boomerang generally says, like, is fucking funny. Like, I don't know. He works as like the comic relief character. Like when he takes that boomerang and throws it at Blockbuster's balls, he's like, "Oh, run the ghoulies!" Like that to me is like that seems funny. I think it's just because Harley Quinn might say something stupid where it's like not even like laughable funny, and then like maybe if that's what they're going for, I guess that's what it is. But you're kind of like, really? That was the line, you know what I mean? But then once it kind of gets going, it's almost like then it starts to take itself a little bit more serious, and things are kind of going on, and then you start getting into this in-depth story. And in this kind of road trip, it goes from being beyond just like getting Dr. Fate's card to being like, oh shit, everybody wants Dr. Fate.
Mm-hmm. Well, when they get across the point that because like Silver Banshee hooked up with Dr. Fate, that's how they know it was him in the first place, and they needed that get out of hell free card from him. But out of that, they get across that Zoom, he is dying. He's dying and he's losing his powers, and they go back to the events from Justice League Flashpoint. And he still has that hole in his head that Batman put there. And he's just like, you know, right there, it seemed like to them that I was probably dead for instantly. But truth is, I was trying to do everything I can in the Speed Force to hold myself back. I was standing in that position for weeks. But to them, it just seemed like mere seconds. And he's losing his powers, and even Deadshot says something to the effect of, he's like, right, he's like, is he like too fast for you? Like, no, he's actually too slow. Usually, by this point, he'd be in here and kill us all.
Yeah, and I thought that was almost like one of the coolest aspects of the movie. It's like, oh, they brought that back for one, and then it's just kind of a cool idea. It's like, you know, he's got this just big old gaping hole that he's been hiding till the very end, and this is like slowly killing him, almost like the villain in 007 World's Not Enough. That was
Has
like
a shard in his head.
Yeah, he's got that. Well, I think in that one it's actually a bullet, and it's like slowly penetrating his brain. But this is almost like it's slowly like eating away, and he's just using all his like power to kind of hold it together, and so on. Because I remember at first there's a part where like, like when Zoom's chasing after them in the Winnebago, and all I thought was like, you fucking kidding me? And they're like, are they outrunning Zoom in a fucking Winnebago? Like out of all things, out of like any vehicle you could choose to be outrunning it, it's like because they hadn't really explained it yet. It just looks so funny because Zoom's just running behind him like, oh, I'm gonna get you guys,
out of breath and all that. Well, I even like his interaction with because they managed to kidnap Frost, and they say, look, here's the thing. We can get the chip out of your neck, and from there, you just got to do a simple thing for us. Not a big deal at all. Easy for you. And he's like, hold still. You know, it does the little, like, vibration thing through the hand. Like, which if you don't know your DC shit, like the whole vibrating your hand fast enough thing, the phasing, people are like, whoa, what the fuck? Flash can do that?
Yeah. I think sometimes people forget, like, Flash is like other abilities. You know?
Other than just running fast. And then from there, I like that as soon as they realize where Vandal Savage is, because I want to say that he by this point has the card. He ends up going, and they end up going there together. And this big 3-way that quickly turns into like a 6-7-way fight because everybody gets greedy and gets their own motivation. Ends up happening. And I like how Killer Frost, she's like, okay, I'll help you guys out. And then, like, you know, helps them out. And you think she's screwing over the Suicide Squad. And then you realize, oh, she's screwing over Zoom. Okay, so she's not as bad. Then she's doing the Suicide Squad. Yeah, I'm not really helping you guys out. I'm just taking this thing because I could fucking sell this thing. And then from there, more fighting fucking happens. Fucking Copperhead hops out, fucking pins her down. She freezes him, so she's stuck in place. And then Amanda Waller fucking sets off like Copperhead's bomb just to kill Frost. Yeah, and you'd see on his face like, oh shit, and I was like, that part I was like, oh man, you killed Killer Frost. It's one of my favorite villains. But whatever.
Yeah, that was actually kind of the ballsy one. I thought was killing Killer Frost. I was like, whoa, that's actually kind of a ballsy one. I mean, like Copperhead feels like, sadly enough, he feels like he's meant to be like, he's gonna die. There's no way Copperhead's gonna get out of there.
The monster guy is gonna die.
Yeah, monster guys just never seem to make it. Even the part 2 where they're like when they had him like underneath the building, it's like, oh fuck, there's a bomb under here. Oh shit. And he had to climb out. Wait, so one thing I thought about that scene is like, that bomb like blew up that entire house, and that was the one that was in Killer Frost's neck. What was like that? That kind of threw me off because like when the bombs always blow up, it just blows their heads off. It doesn't like explode like the entire like building of anything.
Was it hooked up to something else?
No, it was just a little bomb, like, 'cause you could see the little device, and it was frozen onto the post underneath the house.
Okay, for some reason I thought maybe it was connected to something else, but yeah, no, still that right there. It is one of those things because even like when they show like Count Vertigo's head explode at the beginning, I was surprised. I was like, are they going to show Judy's head exploding? Like, no, he just gives her a mercy kill. I was kind of hoping they show her head explode.
And it's kind of weird because like even though like, Deadshot shoots her, you think her head would still blow. You think she'd just be on the ground, just like lay there in this like silence for a moment. Boom. Like why would the timer go off if you shoot her? Like I thought that was kind of weird. That just felt like those ones like, hey, you can blow one head up, you can't blow 2 heads up on screen. Or
maybe it's one of those things like it's a lady, so they don't want to show her head getting blown off. I'm just wondering because they don't show any of that. They don't show really so much of the violence towards women. The only part they really show that's kind of violent towards women is when Silver Banshee dies because an icicle comes out of her mouth, which you think, oh, that's kind of a rough way to go. But then she falls over and then it goes out the back of her head. And that's just double downing on it. So I'm wondering, it's like, well, she looks kind of weird because she has a skull tattooed on her face, so we can get away with it because she looks kind of like a monster. I'm wondering if like there's some weird little like back rule there.
I bet you it is. I bet you it all falls in line. I bet you there's probably some handbook out there that explains all these rules. It's like why the Joker can murder somebody very violently but can't flip the bird. It's probably the same thing because you always notice that like even in a lot of things, like it feels like you can't show a woman getting brutally murdered like in a lot of these things, but you can show any guy getting fucking like the worst death of his life.
Well, even when like Knockout gets like machine gunned down, it's still. I mean, you see some blood and you just see her fall over.
Yeah, and even like Killer Frost, you really don't see anything. You see Copperhead's head blow off and roll across and be like,
yeah.
But you don't see Killer Frost. You really actually don't even see her die. I mean, for all we know, she could have survived. Because it really it was an explosion, and then his head went flying, and you just kind of have to assume. But it wasn't like she just. Guts and blood everywhere. It wasn't any of that. I don't know why that is. It's kind of those are weird to me.
She had a similar
where's these
death
equal rights for us men? And we get all the violent deaths.
There's a thing that pointed that out. Like it's always kind of cutaways and that kind of thing. I want to say there's like a video that back when I used to watch Cracked. I want to say they pointed that out. Like, look how many times whenever they show like all these compilations of movies of like guys getting shot in the head and just like blood splatter out the back. When it's a lady, it's always cutting away to something else or kind of at a different angle or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So those kind
of. I'm not saying like more violence towards women in screen. I'm not saying that. But
to me, it's just more. It's like I don't know. To me, it's like I feel like if you want equalness, I think it should be equal across the board, not switch around. Which I think that's almost what people want. And I just feel like no. Just like I feel like what's the difference? Like you should be able to show a guy die, a girl die, an animal die. Anything should be able to die the exact same way on screen, just if that's what the scene calls for.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, I'm just hoping they Deus Ex Machina Killer Frost, and she was under like an ice shell and maybe got hurt but survived because I really like that character. Sometimes whenever they kill off a character in one of these movies, it's like a continual part of this old shared universe thing. Mm-hmm. I'm sometimes kind of like, oh man, that means you can't use that character later down the line.
I know, because that's the only thing is now that we got because the Suicide Squad, the Justice League, the Teen Titans, and the Batman are all like interconnected nowadays, unless they're like a special kind of like Elseworld or different type of story or something like that.
It's good to see Black Manta still alive though.
I know, and wasn't he just there like in the very beginning, and then like he was
just driving the sub, and they said
driving the sub. That was all he was. I thought it was gonna really come back around to him, and then it like nothing there. Just like just pilot the sub here.
Because you assume he just got eaten by a shark, but I guess he's still there, so that's good. Yeah. Well, even in the audio commentary, they said originally they weren't going to be driving a sub. They needed they were going to be doing something else, but Alan Burnett really wanted to use Black Manta, so they just made it a sub. Because why would he be driving a truck?
Yeah, exactly. It would be just hilarious if he was just like flying a plane or something like that.
Well, I think his sub could also fly too. So
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, like, no, just like a regular plane, like
just a
nothing
regular plane.
special. Like this, off my new job. Still has
what
the
if he's
helmet
just driving
on.
he's just driving like a Jetta or some shit?
Just something silly, But no, and then it's like, okay, then they like keep continuously fighting, and then there's a poor fucking bronze tiger who's already like just like mangled from that bomb, that head explosion that was way bigger than it needed to be from Killer Frost, and then he comes to like check up on everybody out of the or now they're in a school bus, and then Captain Boomerang of course steals the car and is gonna like sneak off on his own. And then Reverse Flash comes, and this is kind of a cool scene. He literally, there's this like all these like swords on the wall, and he grabs like kind of this really teeny knife. And when he goes to fight Bronze Tiger, he's like, I'm not just going to cut you once or anything like that. No, I'm going to cut you 1,000 times and watch you slowly bleed out or whatever. And he keeps, like, with his remaining speed force, he just keeps doing these quick cuts where, like, Bronze Tiger can't seem to dodge or defend himself.
Because he's still, like, barely just walking by this point. And this is what after Killer Frost fucking dies, as this Copperhead, everything just goes to shit.
Now, does Captain Boomerang just get knocked out? He doesn't die, right?
I want to say he gets knocked out, and I want to say because I think that Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and Harley Quinn by this point are staples of the Suicide Squad, so they don't ever really want to kill those guys.
Yeah, it seems like everybody else you could kind of like switch around. So, because I just remember that like he got knocked out and then he never stood back up. So I just couldn't remember. I'm like, did he get knocked out or did he get shot? Because people are getting shot left and right in this one. So by this point, like.
Maybe he was dead, but I'm pretty sure that he just got knocked out. And then as they're going around doing that. I want to say because that's where earlier on when Deadshot's chasing after his daughter, he has a conversation with Bronze Tiger. So that's my daughter, and she's all fucked up on heroin or whatever. And he's all like, "Want what my life is? I worked for the League of Assassins for a short while or whatever, and then my wife was brutally murdered by them, and they showed Deathstroke for a second,
just like sneaking out the back window,
like, hey, what's up?
Hey, don't mind me."
And all this military gear in the middle of suburbia.
Yeah, I was just smoking your wife, just letting you know. Being neighborly.
He didn't kill her. He didn't kill her. He was just having an affair with her.
He was the backdoor man. He was just playing like that Jim Morrison song, like, I'm your backdoor man.
For a long time, I assumed that song was about butt fucking, but I guess I assumed that's what it was about for a long time. They're like, I mean, okay, he's the guy.
That's never a good song if you're coming home and you hear that song blaring and you're like, wait a second, what is she up to in there?
Or Midnight Man by James Gang.
Yeah, exactly. There's certain songs you don't want to hear blaring from your house.
Well, I'll say this. We'll get back to Suicide Squad in a second. Midnight Man by James Gang makes it sound kind of romantic and makes it sound like, hey, I'm the Midnight Man. I'm this mystical man that comes, fucks you, and leaves, and you're happy or whatever. And then Backdoor Man just is a lot more honest by like, it's gonna be rough. I'm the Backdoor Man. Don't you worry. I'll eat all the chicken that no man has ever seen.
Yeah, you gotta.
That is just the most random thing. You gotta feed me also. I'm the Backdoor Man.
Just like Jim Morrison, I just picture him just kicking down like your back door, just like flies off the hinges.
I came for the chicken and the pussy.
And it just like goes over and just grabs like a can of chicken like out of there and just squeezes it as it like pops open, shoots up, and he eats it like in one gulp.
Well, that's the thing, because there's that line in there that says, I'll eat more chicken than any man's ever seen, or whatever, and I'm like, was that like 70s innuendo for pussy or something? But like, I'm just kind of like,
I don't know, it's kind of getting towards like fat Jim Morrison days, so you know.
He just loved him some chicken.
Yeah.
Anyway, Suicide Squad.
Squad.
No, but
Bronze Tiger story. Yeah, Jim Morrison one day came in and kicked down my door. Thought he was dead. Apparently not.
The Necronomicon him.
Yeah.
He had a Black Lantern ring. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. He would have a Black Lantern ring. I could see that.
Yeah. He wouldn't really do anything with it. He'd probably just keep on drinking and like fucking pass it out on stage. They kind of get this point across that like Bronze Tiger's like, no matter what the fuck you tell me, I'm not gonna feel bad for you because I got my own shit. You think everybody who's part of the Suicide Squad comes from a good peachy background? So yeah, I don't give a shit what if your daughter's going through. We got a fucking mission. And that was kind of that was like kind of like the one closest thing they had to a bonding moment for a second. And then after that, he gets an explosion, he's all fucked up. He comes in at the end, holds off Zoom for a minute while he does the slicing and dicing of him. And I want to say, who is it? Deadshot that manages to get the shot on Zoom real quick.
Well, what happens is, like, Zoom pulls up the card. He's like, shoot me, Deadshot. Go ahead. He's like, find out what happens. I'm holding the card. You know what I mean? And he uses a line. He uses a cool line. God, what the fuck does he say? I know I just watched this, but I forgot what it was.
Bronze Tiger does something. He's holding the
card.
card.
But Bronze Tiger takes that knife and he chucks it, and it chops Zoom's fingers off. And then he gets shot by Deadshot because he can't use any more Speed Force anymore.
Yeah. And then he gets shot right in the same place where Batman shot him before. So then he dies, and Bronze Tiger and Deadshot have this moment, and Amanda Waller is on her way because she just found out everything went to shit. And they emphasize you can only use this card once. Just once. And he walks up to Bronze Tiger, who's dying. He's like, what was your wife's name? He's like, Mahiko or something like that. It's like a Japanese name. He says, that's a nice name. You know, then I remember he says some other things, but it's not like, you're a good man, bro. Nothing like that, but more of just like, just hands him the card. He says, like, is this mainly to piss off Waller? He's like, smiles. Yeah, mainly.
She doesn't fucking deserve it. She's just as bad as all of us.
And then like, Bronze Tiger kind of smiles back, like, you know, kind of like, all right, you're not as bad as I once thought. And then after that, Waller walks in, he pulls it off him right after, and you see he glows. Like, oh, I'd be damned, it does work. And then Waller walks in, like, got the card right here. Like, good. And then they made an agreement that if he goes through this mission, that he gets the rest of his sentence free. And this is the one little thing I'm not entirely sure, but I think it works both ways. He sees his daughter getting out of school, walking with that same delinquent redhead friend.
Get away from her! Get away from her! He just starts like
he shoots the girl.
The redhead girl just right in the head, like, I'm
back to prison. Right back
out of here.
Right back to prison after that. Like, I'm sorry. Just she was gonna give you pot.
You just shot a 13-year-old in the head.
Wade, you just saved the world, and or Floyd, you just saved the world, and you just got out. Why would you go shoot a 13-year-old girl in the head? She was smoking the reefer.
It's madness out there, you know. In this, handful of years I've been locked up in here, you can't believe what these kids are up to nowadays. Did you hear she was talking about playing a shooter online? She's shooting people online. Floyd, where have you been? I've been in jail a long time. I don't even know what she was babbling on about. I just know she's murdering people while smoking.
Last album I had was Twisted Sister's first debut album.
Yeah.
It was on vinyl.
Yeah, on vinyl, if that tells you anything. They haven't even invented the cassette yet.
Oh, oh shit, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so they have this distant shot, and she looks kind of like, it's not like the super heartwarming. They're like, oh my god, he's like, oh, that's my dad. And she's just kind of nervously walking up to her. He's kind of walking up to her too. It's a slow zoom out, goes to black, and then you hear the beep 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 explosion noise, and then just the credits roll. Now I'm wondering, I think it kind of works either way. I think that could have just been a stylistic choice, just because, Suicide Squad explosions, or it's like, she realized she fucked him over. He fucked her over, so she killed him right there. Either way, though, I think it works for this kind of story.
Yeah, I don't think it's like Floyd gets killed there. I think that's literally just part of the music for the credits to roll, because it just has that kind of explosion. You know what would have been the ballsy ending? Would have been is to have Captain Boomerang show up there instead. Be like,
I'm your new daddy!
Because he mentions that in the very beginning. He's like, well, maybe if I'll get out of here, I'll go find her. Everybody needs a papa. Or
it's this thing of they have like a final fight out. And I feel like if this was like a movie, like a live action movie that had stretched out to 2 hours or something.
You might have that kind of like there.
He was waiting for him at there, and so it's like, oh shit, these two guys are working together the whole time, now have to fight right here at the very end.
Yeah,
because they are arch enemies.
Or he pulls up and goes like, "There's my daughter! There's my daughter!" It's like the girl smoking pot. Like Floyd's like, "I fucking knew it. Why? Out of everything, why are we so connected?"
They have to start going to taking the girls to each other's birthday parties and all that. They have to. Yeah. They're forced to have a beer with each other now.
Exactly.
They're forced to go to family barbecues together.
They're forced to go to graduation together and sit next to each other. Just like
Daddy's proud of you!
Then it just becomes just this goofy buddy comedy for the next half of the movie.
Comes Grumpy Old Man 3.
There's literally there's no violence, no nothing past this point. It is now a completely different film.
If we make this movie take place like 20 or 30 years later, it's like Grumpy Old Men 3.
Exactly. Just Captain Boomerang and Deadshot.
Like
They're
definitely
out fishing in like an ice hole out there, like trying to like bond.
Deadshot is definitely the Peter O'Toole character. Is that his name, Peter O'Toole?
Well, it's Walter Matthau and
Walter Matthau. That's where Peter O'Toole come from.
I don't know. And then what's his name from Some Like It Hot?
Yeah. I'm thinking Walter. I meant Walter Matthau. Who's Peter O'Toole? Now we're wondering.
He's another actor around that same time period, but
yeah, Walter Matthau was definitely Floyd.
Yeah, he's definitely got to be that. But I would see that movie. That'd be pretty funny. But no, this Suicide Squad one was definitely really cool, really fun. I liked it a lot. I think the one thing too is it's the perfect movie for anybody who's been like, oh, comic book movies or animation. It's always just a bunch of kid stuff. I feel like you could go like, well, here, watch this. If that first like 10 minutes where people are dying left and right doesn't win you over, nothing will.
Well, I'll say that. We always mention that, and I know those guys still exist, but most people, by this point, I feel like, even if they don't like this kind of thing, they realize by this point, oh, maybe it's not for me, but it's a little bit more mature, a little bit more adult than I originally assumed it would be. Because I know some people who still they're not into this, but they'll be like, oh, okay, this movie, whatever Marvel or DC movie was better than I thought it would be, or was darker than I thought it would be, and they're not always as surprised when they hear, oh, this is what the comics are actually like. Really? Oh, okay. But there was that period where you would get people like, the movies are good, but this comic and cartoon shit, I just don't fucking get.
And the thing is, I still think that exists. Actually, I mean, I think it gets smaller and smaller every year. But I still think it is still a big majority of like people out there. I think still kind of have that like, old-fashioned way of like what a comic book is. I just don't think. I think there's just a lot of people. It's just that they've never cracked open like a book or so on, or just animation in general. It's just they got this idea that it's still kid stuff. Oddly enough,
what drives me crazy is it's not so much if you like it or you don't. If you don't like it or whatever, that doesn't bother me. It's more of just the like. Let's just say it's been 10 years since comic book movies have been taken very, very seriously. Dark Knight, all right? It's been 10 years.
Or even Batman Begins, even. I would say that's almost the initial, like, we're going to take it real serious.
Batman Begins was like word of mouth. People were like, it's another Batman movie? I don't know. And then, like, it's actually good? Let me go check it out. Then, like, oh, that was a good movie. Then Dark Knight comes out. Oh, my God, that movie was the best movie ever. And it's been 10 years, and you have all, like, whenever, like, one of these movies comes out, you have the interview and the actors and directors saying, oh, the comics are actually way deeper than you would think, and whatever. And so if somebody by this point is still saying, oh, this is just a bunch of kid shit, they're a bunch of fucking idiots who have not opened a fucking book or even listened to a fucking interview in a long time. So I don't even really take that kind of criticism seriously. By this
well, here's the thing: those kind of people probably aren't going to listen. It is somebody who's already going to make that thing. They're not going to listen to an interview or so on like that. That's already way beyond their.
Maybe they didn't go looking for the interview, but it got played for them, or it was
like on TV. It came up on Fox News.
Yeah, it came on Fox News, or it was before like a movie. And like when they went to go like to Regal or some shit, like before the show thing.
Yeah, one of those goofy things, but no, this one is awesome, and it's like this is the one thing that's kind of weird. We forgot to bring this up. The next one that they're advertising on this list, and technically there's another movie coming out too. There's that Japanese Batman one that looks neat, but they advertise it like, yeah, we're just gonna do the death of Superman again, and it's kind of like. And this is like sometimes my only kind of slight complaint to like DC is just like if you kind of like combined all the DC stuff together, I noticed they'll do the same storyline almost like over and over a couple times like throughout their different stuff. Like they'll do it in Arrow, and then they'll do it in a movie, and then they'll do it in one of the DCU animated ones. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, you guys don't. You can back off a little bit there. I know that like for a while there, it was almost like the League of Shadows, was one of those ones where like they did that one almost like so much. It was like in everybody's show, it was like, this is the big deal. The DCU, this is what it's going to be. In the movies, we're going to do this. In Arrow, we're going to do this. And it's just like, oh, okay. You guys don't all have to do that at the same time. How about you split these things up a little bit? And I just kind of feel it's like, okay, once like the Death of Superman, that was the first DCU one out of that style of movies. And, as well as ones like, yeah, they can only cram in so much. And I think it's a little bit shorter. I want to say that one's only like maybe 70 or 80 minutes long. Where this Suicide Squad was actually one of the longest ones probably. But, so they couldn't get like the full 3 giant books in there that everybody wanted, which I don't know where people were thinking that was going to fit in there. So they did kind of like a simplified version of the Death of Superman and Return. And then now they're doing it, and they're just doing it now in the new, Superman, or the new Justice League, Batman, Suicide Squad, Teen Titans, blah, 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 that style of movies. And it's kind of like, yeah, granted, it'll be different, and it'll probably be really good. I'm not saying it won't be, but I feel like it's just going to feel like kind of like similar ground that we've already kind of seen. Think of it, it's like we had the Batman v Superman movie just kind of came out. That was its kind of main storyline, so.
Well, I'll say this. I got a strong feeling. This is coming from somebody who likes Batman v Superman, but I got a very strong feeling this is going to be better than Batman v Superman. And the reason is, Batman v Superman is not your second out the door. Because the whole thing with Batman... Well, all right, it's two things. Superman was here for one movie, and then we kill him in the next. And then beyond that, you also got Batman and Superman fighting. And, there's the initial, fuck you, punch, punch. Oh, now we're friends. There's that. But the whole thing that Batman v Superman was trying to pull heavily from was Dark Knight Returns, and you work your way up to Dark Knight Returns. It's the reason it's more important in Dark Knight Returns because they're two best friends being forced to fight each other. So that's a couple of reasons why that would seem a little rushed. Where something like this, I'm going to say they've all been kind of taking place in the same universe roughly since probably Justice League Doom, I think, and because of that, I want to say that's been maybe not 10 years, maybe like 7 years or 8 years possibly. And out of that, it's like, okay, so we've seen him fight Doomsday more than once, but now there's all this history behind it. This is actually a Justice League that we've seen kind of change and grow over the years. And plus, it's the first time in a long time Superman's been the main focus. Because I don't think Superman's had a solo movie. And it's not technically a solo because he's still there at the Justice League, but it's titled Superman. So,
except for Superman Unbound, I think was the last one.
That was the last one, and even that one wasn't bad. But that's one I think I only watched once.
Yeah, it's kind of. I watched it twice, but it's definitely one of my least favorites out of the DCU ones. Still a good movie, but not up to par of the other ones. And that's the thing. It's I think this one actually will be really good. It's not that it's that. It's more just the fact that it's just that the core concept of we've seen this just in 10 years. We've seen it a couple times already.
Yeah, I
think
get that.
That's more just it. It's not that, and it's not like they're doing a completely different take of it. It's not like they're doing the comic book version, because I think it's it's not like you're gonna get Superboy and Steel and all the other guys in there. I think it's gonna be more just based around how does this affect this new Justice League and maybe the Teen Titans and maybe Justice League Dark if anybody gives a fuck to call those guys up.
This I think this will be a 2-part movie.
Oh, is it? It only said one. It didn't mention it like that in there.
I think I read somewhere it might be a 2-parter. This is him fighting Doomsday and dying at the end. Next one will be the Return.
Well, that'd be kind of a cool way to do it if they do it in a 2-piece then, so that you kind of can have this some sort of build up, and then maybe you can actually throw in those other characters. I don't think they would throw them in there because it's kind of why would you need these other characters when you got Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern to step in? Steel's he's they're gonna give me a call. They're gonna give me a call.
Just waiting by the phone, just some old school rotary phone.
Yeah.
Because they tried to get across at one point in time he was an older guy. I want to say that one version of it he was an older guy, and then they younged him up a bit. They kind of made him Batman, I don't know why I said Batman, Superman, Iron Man, sort of.
I wish they would just bring Steel if any. Really, you don't need to bring me Superboy. You don't need to bring me Cyborg Superman. Just give me Steel. Steel's just an awesome character that I don't feel ever gets enough use.
I like Superboy now. I like him now. I did not like him in the 90s, and I did not like him in early 2000s. I liked him probably more early 2000s than 90s, because 90s he was like, guess what? I'm my own man. I'm not Superboy. I'm the Metropolis Kid. Even though I wear a Superman emblem on my chest and I wear a nice little black leather jacket, I'm still my own man. So, fuck you. I'm not Superboy. I'm Metropolis Kid. Like, why are you wearing his S? Fuck you. That's why. And
this sounds like Superboy's like guest appearance on Will and Grace.
It is. I mean, he had this stupid little kind of weird. I don't know what you call it. This weird little shaved pompadour haircut. Like the side of his head was all totally shaved. This little curly Q kind of hanging down, and then I don't know. He just it came across as a gay stereotype. It was more meant to be just the snotty little whatever. I mean, whatever.
Kid.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, okay, now he's a clone, he's a cross clone between Lex Luthor and Superman, and he was just kind of big old corn-fed, kind of whatever, nothing impresses me, I'm Superman. Hey, Superboy, you want to go save the day? I don't give a fuck. It's kind of lame. Well, you sure? I mean, you can fly. You can do this shit. I don't have a dad. What's the fucking point? I'm Superboy. So it was and then they kind of ironed him out eventually. And okay, he has a little more personality now. But he just had this total kind of you can't throw a football. I don't fucking impress me none.
I couldn't throw a football, and Mom and Pa Kent said I was fucking shit because of it. They put me in the barn and literally put a conveyor belt of corn coming into my mouth, and that's where I lived for 15 years. On my birthday, Lex Luthor and Superman would show up and have sort of a conversation,
Joint custody. It was two divorced parents. It was two divorced parents. They don't want to see
they just sat around and signed legal documents.
They both brought me. They both brought me cupcakes.
Yeah. One was chocolate, one was vanilla.
I'll let you guess which one brought which.
It just sounds like such a dumpy kind of guy. Just I guess, fuck it, I ain't gonna go out and do much.
Jeff Johns, early, Teen Titans, he just seemed very dopey and just kind of whatever. It was he seemed kind of did you ever... no, I'm not going there. That was too much to explain to get there. I was he just seemed kind of just very how do I put it? The jock, the jock, but kind of the very stereotypical jock who's just I know football plays and that's all I'm good. I kind of like a douchey Forrest Gump, Forrest Gump if he wasn't but I love you, Jenny. It's but Jenny didn't call me back, that fucking bitch. He was gonna have more of that vibe to him.
Why'd you get up and go to her house? Fuck that, I ain't leaving this chair.
Or worse enough, he's I'll fucking find you, Jenny. I can hear you. And he has super strength. That's a scary fucking combination.
It really is. A rapist with Superman powers is horrible.
That's got to be a Rule 39 somewhere.
Yes, Superman's powers cannot be given to a rapist. It says in the DC handbook. It's right underneath the Joker can't flip the bird. And I like how the Joker can't flip the bird was actually thought up first.
Well, priorities.
Yeah. Shit, well, this is the thing. That has a higher chance of happening than the next one. The next one's probably worse. They're not even convinced that the Joker flipping the bird. I'm not too sure. I'm weighing the odds here. One's worse than the others, but I can't make that decision.
Someone's just fucking hiding in a house made of lead. Do you want you ever come out? He's out there. Who? Superman. What? He's trying to fuck me. He just won't leave this house. It's coated in lead. I just gotta stay here. I just gotta stay here.
I can't trust it. He's just got the power. There's probably somebody out there who has that fear. It's just once they read a man, they're laid up at night, fucking in Metropolis, reading a book, or Smallville even, and because there'd be somebody in Smallville who has a bunch of free time. They're oh shit, he has, he has X-ray vision, super strength, super hearing. This fucking Jimmy Olsen guy's writing this story of all this stuff. Is I can't fucking believe this. He's like,
what if he tried to fuck me?
Yeah, he's like, it's literally like that same
First
kind
place
of
his
guy who's
mind
like, you know
goes.
what? I got abducted by aliens and they've anal probed me, but this one's instead like, Superman one time came to my house and raped me in the middle of the night.
I guess that's the same situation. I mean, he's just like a better representation of an alien.
Where he's like, Martian Manhunter's finally that stereotype of me is going away. They always just look at me like I'm gonna anal probe them. That's the only thing they think of. One time I came to speak at a school, and that was the only question they asked: is how many anal probes have I done?
They were all leaning against the wall, keeping like a good distance against me.
Yeah, it's like they all sucked up like they were playing that prison ball game.
And I even told them, it was like a weird situation. I told them, hypothetically, look, if I wanted to rape you, which I don't, he said if he was going to rape us, I'm not saying I'm gonna, I'm saying if, it would have already been done, so you're all good. Oh, he said if he could, if he wanted to. Like, oh fuck, I gotta, just disappears out of there.
He's like, here's the thing.
The wall.
Nobody from Mars ever did anal probing. That was against it. You know what I mean? Maybe some other alien race out there, you know. Maybe one of those,
Maybe one of the Lantern boys.
Yeah, you can't trust a lantern sometimes. There's too many of them, just saying. You know, you give too many people that power, something bad's bound to happen.
Look, they give the people, they get those rings if they're not scared of nothing. Doesn't say nothing about their character. Hal Jordan, he ain't scared of STDs. Guess what?
Yeah, Hal Jordan, how do you think he became a pilot? Just saying. You know what I mean? He wasn't having a hard time.
He needs something fast to get away. Something where they get high up where they can't reach him.
Just one of the teachers leans over and is like, maybe we shouldn't get Martian Manhunter next time to come explain to these children.
There is a cultural barrier here.
They're like, yeah, but we got to get at least one green guy in every 10 speakers, or
so
else we look like the racist.
One kid's like, fuck, I want to do it. I'm gonna fucking do it. Runs up holding a lighter, like, no! like slams the kid, slams against the wall.
He slams the kid against the wall, like facing the wall, and it's like everybody turns and looks like, he spun him around. This is when the probe's gonna happen. Teacher's like, can't we just get Jon Stewart next time? That's like a double whammy. We get a black guy and a green guy all at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, that makes it real easy for the rest of the year.
After that, we'll get Kyle Rayner, a gay Asian guy who's also green.
Yeah, you know, we're knocking the green one out. Like, I think we can really get by with never having Martian Manhunter show up again for these speeches.
Well, he's trying to get
speaking of which, I'm glad Martian Manhunter's actually appearing back in that Justice League movie coming up with the Superman. Because they literally, like, Cyborg showed up one day. It's just like, you know, Martian Manhunter's like, what are you doing? That's my locker. Not anymore. No. You know, Teen Titans is in San Francisco. Shit, I don't work for the Teen Titans. Maybe you get a job there. Like, I'm like a full-grown man. I would look like a pedophile down there. They would all assume I'm going to anal probe them. It just happens with kids. I don't know what it is.
Look, someone's got to drive him to soccer practice.
Shit, you could get a job doing that.
Yeah. They need a chaperone. Can't leave a bunch of like 15, 16-year-olds unattended. Nothing will get done. They just be fucking each other, breaking and shit. Do you think they're paying for it? Fuck no, they're all 16. They don't got good jobs. I
like how the Watchtower's just like, you know, everybody's sitting around like, how are we going to tell Martian Manhunter he's not part of the gang anymore? They're like, let's just do the thing where we lock the door and nobody answers it when he knocks.
I mean, we all know he can phase through it, but I think he'll get the hint.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to hide under the table, and maybe he won't be able to, he'll phase through and see that nobody's there.
It's just one of those things he does that. He's like, you guys hear him walking around, they're under the table, like, Batman's under the table, he's somewhere else, don't even know where he's at.
He's like on the chandelier, like...
Yeah, he's like amateurs. You just hear footsteps, like, guys, that's fucking weird. Just takes a seat at the table, just like,
Just starts doing.
Just starts waiting there, just hanging out. Like, I guess just wait for them to return. Then they just hear him boot up the giant computer. He's just watching Netflix. Like, a
puts
new
his feet up.
Just
kicks his feet up on there on like the control board.
Oh, a new 8-part documentary series. Okay, all right.
Oh, on hip hop. How about that?
Time to get cultured.
This is like should also be titled "How to Relate to Cyborg."
Yeah.
Hey, I can say it. I'm from another planet. All y'all.
The rest of Justice League is just kind of like leaning under the table, just waiting. Like by this point, one or two of them are kind of peeking out from the table, watching the documentary, just really just intrigued and fascinated by it. Like, oh, Run DMC was the first to do that. Okay.
Shit. Flash, shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry. It's just a really good documentary.
You got all the time in the world to watch it, and of course, the only time that you bring it up now is we're under a goddamn fucking table. It's like Soups, you know. I can't afford TV. If you get a fucking job, you could do more stuff than shit. I work a job. What do you think? It's like the Martian Manhunter's like, I wonder what that sound is back there. I wonder if the guys in the gang came in.
So, what are you guys doing under the table?
Under the table, you goofs. What are you doing down there? Oh, I want to get under the table too. He crawls underneath.
Let's all watch the hip hop documentary together. Shit, no, it's not a good time to tell him, is it? No, it's not.
No, it's even worse. We should have just told him in the first place, and we just got it over with. Where'd Batman go? God damn it, he fucking snuck off.
You guys were waiting. You guys were waiting up to surprise me for my birthday, weren't you? Fuck.
I thought you guys were gonna forget.
No. Fuck. God damn it.
Oh, poor Martian Manhunter. I'm just glad to see he's finally getting some love again, because he literally just got fucking like... Because that's like the thing. It's like, well, there's only 7 slots here. Yeah. And, Green's not in anymore.
No, we'll get there one day. We'll get back to it.
But yeah, check out Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay. Good flick. Fun times. Other than that, though, go to oldmanorange.com for more comics, podcasts, videos, and more. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Be sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, animations, videos, and a whole lot more. You can easily support the show by buying something from one of our Amazon links on the website or in the show's description itself. Doesn't cost you a penny, but every single thing you buy from there just by using that link to take you to Amazon helps us out a bit. You can also really help the show out, though, by spreading the word the good old-fashioned way. And rate and review us on all the sites that you find this podcast. Anything from iTunes to Podbean to Newgrounds, YouTube, you name it. Any little bit helps. Give a sub and share it to your friends, family, any jamoke you see out on the street. You let them know about Old Man Orange Podcast. And be sure to check out the Old Man Orange comic book Pizza Boys on both Amazon and Comixology. Till then, we'll see you some other time.